Hey guys, I'm just here to really quickly show you how to create a universal HSV controller for avatars, which does not rely on the shader having a hue slider on itself. So this can technically work with pretty much any shader that has vertex color selectable. So for example, a standard shader, which is the baseline shader in Unity, and it's very simple, it's very straightforward. And as you can see, I have three different controls here: hue, brightness, saturation. And we can change the hue here. Let's change it to, put it somewhere on blue. Let's make it a bit brighter. Also make it a bit more saturated so it's a bit more clear that it's blue. Or we can also desaturate it so it just becomes, white, gray. And then we can, darken it if we want it to be like charcoal. We want it to, bring it down to monochrome, bring it back up. We can take the saturation back up, and then we can go to hue, change the hue. And these are all running on three parameters. So we have three floats: one float for hue, one float for brightness, one float for saturation. And the setup is very simple. So to make this, you want three parameters. You want a hue, brightness, and saturation, because these are the three values we're going to be driving with our controller. So we're going to create a new layer here. We're going to call it color change. Create a new blend tree. We're going to call this one color change. Just keep it consistent. You can call it whatever you want, the name doesn't matter. It's just better to name it something so you have a good track on what you're doing. We want right defaults to be turned off, and we want our motion time to be enabled. And we will also want this to be set on shirt hue. And the reason for this is because our animations are changing hue according to the position or the keyframe in the animation itself. So if the animation is at the start, it's at a specific hue. If it's halfway through the animation, it's at a different hue, and at the end of the animation, there's another different hue. So the motion time just makes it run on that animation length, selecting a specific point of the animation to play. We can double click to open it. We can select this. We can change this to be shirt saturation on the parameter, and we create two blend trees. And we can call this one desaturated, and this one called saturated. And we want these to have the brightness parameter. And both of these should have two motion fields, because we have 4 animations. So we're going to need one motion field for each animation. And we can start here with the dark desaturated, and then we put the bright desaturated on here. Then we put the dark saturated, and the bright saturated there. And we can just slam a number there so we can control these. So now when we have saturated at a full value, it enables this blend tree. And because we have brightness at full value, it selects this animation specifically. And if we start changing the brightness, you can see it changes over to the dark version of the saturated one. And if we change the saturation, it goes over to the desaturated side. And these work independently, and it blends smoothly between all these 4 animations with just all these 3 parameters. Well, 2 that you can see right here. The third one being the hue parameter that we have running for motion time. The thing that takes the longest time to create in this is just the animations themselves. And they're very simple. These are just animations with keyframes for the color values, so RGBs. So we can look at the shirt brightness hue here, and you can see we have RGB 100 to start with. And if we scroll through this, you can see it starts going through the numbers, and it's going through the hue slowly. You can get away with just having like 2 or 3 keyframes here and curving it using curves here. So if we go here into the shirt and we go to the shader, you can see I'm just like, this is all I'm animating. This setting, the main color here, is all I'm animating. And I'm using Oral standard here, but this could very well work with just standard or with any other shader that just has this main color setting available to you and has it available to be animated. So that way you're not locked into just shaders that have just a hue or hue slider. And that's about it. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments or message me on Twitter or on Blue Sky. I'm also on Blue Sky. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.